I want to say, first of all, hello to all of you. Welcome. My name is Dawn Thompson, and welcome to the Parenting Using the Zodiac class. So I want to introduce you really quick to my work. I have been coaching clients to include adults and children for the last 25 years. I am a trainer, a professional speaker, and an author, and I use astrology as an additional tool to my coaching. It has proven to be the most efficient way to assist in problem solving for the work I do. And I use it in corporate America, personal one-on-one sessions, and with kids. So here's a question for all of you to start off. How many of you realize that you have personal gurus in your home? Anybody? Anybody have a clue that it could be your kids? So what I want you guys to think about is, let's be honest. So this class tonight is going to be very real. They are here to teach us, okay? It's not the other way around. And so this is why I made this class. Many clients and parents ask me all the time if I will work with their kids. And my response is always, only if I work with the parent at the same time. And because as soon as the kid returns home, you, the parent, undoes all that I have taught the little soul, because parents don't understand. And it's not your fault either. That's just why we are here tonight, so we can understand. And so kids, basically, guys, they're not the challenge. It's us parents. We are trying to live our lives through our kids. And then when the kid rebels or wants something else, we are shocked that they're not listening, rebelling, and sometimes they're downright nasty. And learning my personal kids' hotspots is what made me so confident in parenting, and why I get asked so often, will you help my kids? Will you work with my kids? And it's because I refrained from making my kids live the life that I desired and to fill my voids where I was having hotspots and challenges, right? And I wanted them, if it were coming from my blueprint, I wanted them to be athletes and dancers, because that's what I knew how to do. Right? So guess what happened when I put them in both of those activities? You guys can probably guess, right? It was a total crash and burn. They rejected my fantastic ideas. And so when I figured this out, I thought, I needed to research what fills their little souls and what makes them feel good. So it kind of came about when my oldest kept coming home from school, and she's telling me that she would try to make friends, but no one liked her, and they were mean to her, and she is like such a sweet soul. And I thought, I don't understand how this could happen, right? She would come home crying and saying her friend, who she thought was her best friend, was ignoring her. She would say that no one likes me and no one wants to be my friend. Friends would leave her out of sleepovers and birthday parties, and no one would invite her to sit with them at lunch. And this was daily. And school was an absolute struggle for her. She was like challenged basically to memorize the most basic notes from her classes that in my mind seemed pretty simple. And it probably would be to a lot of you. She couldn't learn how to read a clock. And at the time, I remember my 6-year-old was kind of making fun of her, because for her, all she saw was numbers that resembled math, which she was terrible at. And so it was crushing me. It was absolutely crushing me. And I wanted to take all those kids who weren't being nice to her. It's like you want to take them down and give them your piece of your mind, right? As a parent and as a mom. And she was trying so hard to be part of the group, when her lesson really in life was to lead the group. And she feared stepping into her ability as a leader and standing on her own and being in her own being. And then the day came when she came home and told me that this girl had asked her why she dressed the way she did, because it was really weird. And that night, while she was crying and feeling unloved and alienated from the world, she said, "Mom, I'm so weird. No one wants to be my friend." And now this is following my mother picking her up from school that afternoon. And she slid down into the floorboards of the car, the front seat of the car, when my mom simply just said, "How was your day today, sweetie?" And she had begun crying after my mom just asked her a simple question like that. So needless to say, Nana was just as confused as I was, because this child was so loving and kind, and we couldn't figure it out. So after hearing another meltdown from her, it was kind of like that moment I was like, God, angels, spirit, universe, I need help. And that's when the light bulb went off. And so I laid in her bed with her, and I said, you know what, let's see why you're struggling to fit in. And so I used astrology, but it's funny, I wasn't using it with my kids. And I opened her Zodiac chart, and for the first time I looked at her hotspots. And bingo, there it was right there. She was an incredible artist, right? And wants to be a fashion designer. So while this girl, as cruel as she was the messenger, and she needed to be alerted to doing more with her clothes and not avoiding it. And she did. She brought these quirky little, pieces together that all made sense to her, but not to someone else. And we just didn't see it. And she had to learn from these hot spots to be a leader in the masses and in groups and not a follower. While she wanted to follow, this was not in her emotional blueprint. So it kept backfiring on her. And so I had told her, you have to learn to lead and be on your own path. This is really important for you. And it's not always going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. And it's part of your life purpose to shine and entertain others. So we made a plan, right? We started seeing this in her chart, and we saw where it sit. We saw that it was something important for her. So we invited others over, and we asked many to be her friends. So if one let her down, she wasn't always upset. Right? We plan to have group sleepovers and lead them on how to have fun our way, and bring them, and lead them to joy and show them her way, because her moon sign, where it's sat, is to help people. And so she agreed with me that she wouldn't self-sacrifice her needs as much, but only to help and inspire people, but not give up of herself, which we all tend to do at times, right? So when she knew her life purpose of shining, and that it would at times be uncomfortable, by sharing herself, sharing her knowledge, sharing her tools, sharing her gifts, was going to be uncomfortable with people, but it was necessary for her to grow confidence. And for me personally to have less tears, we were on a better track. It changed the dynamics, and it changed the game. And then when I had to go and look at my youngest, on the other hand, who did not like group settings, where my oldest wanted to be in groups. She just was uncomfortable thinking she was supposed to follow. No, she was the leader. And so now when I look at my youngest, she did not like being in groups. She was more comfortable in one-on-one settings. She was shy and not engaged and happy in her own little world. Yet I was worried as a mom that she needed more social interaction as a kid, right? So we start playing our own stuff. And I wasn't aware at that point as well that she had hotspots of partners and groups, and that she had to do everything herself. And I just thought it was her personality, right? And that she wouldn't let others help her, including mom. Yet as she grew older, and she was beginning to snap at me when she was overwhelmed, and this was my cue that she was emotionally overloaded, but wouldn't admit it, and then was just ready to burst. So it wasn't really her mad at me or being a bad child. She was just struggling internally because she didn't know how to trust people, right? So she needed to learn that lesson to allow her to slowly build trust so she could be part of groups and be part of this group consciousness. So because it was hard for her, I quit forcing it. And in my mind, I was trying to help her, but it wasn't helping, right? And so I quit forcing her to be in group functions, and I quit talking to her daily, encouraging her that I needed to understand it. And I just said, we have to slowly but surely bring this in for you to talk about how you feel. So we scheduled a weekly talk time about her feelings instead of daily. So she didn't fear it, but she knew it was coming. So she kind of worked herself up to what was uncomfortable, but it was still important that she knew it was a hot spot in her chart and some area for her to grow. Okay. And so when she knew it was important, it actually started feeling better, and she didn't fight it as much. And she realized, okay, this isn't easy for me, but I have to feel my belief that my feelings are important and that they're a burden to others. So when I share all this with you with my own kids, guys, it's because this bothered me. I am a life coach and I could not reach her as a mom, and it baffled me that she could be so resistant to opening up. But this was her hotspot boulder. And it totally threw me by surprise because my kids are an artist and a musician. I am neither. I am creative, but clearly not in the areas that they are. I can barely draw stick figures, and she makes fun of me. And I can't play an instrument. But I understood that what worked for them, and I stopped kind of forcing my blueprint on them, right? So if we can remember this through this class, your kids are here to teach you. Healthy parenting is to raise emotionally healthy adults and not children, good little children that are void of emotions, because that's not why they're here. They're here to teach us. And if we don't understand how to teach them how to cope with their own emotions, then they're going to begin to doubt their emotions and how to feel what they feel. So then they carry them into an adulthood, and then we wonder why we're all so challenged with our emotions as adults, right? Because we all are. This is why I do what I do for a living. They have a preset blueprint and design that will work even without you. Aside from hunger and shelter, guys, you are not necessarily needed. It's like, ouch, right? Doesn't that like, oh no, they don't really need me? And if you think about it, emotions, purpose, challenges, they're normal and healthy for everyone to experience, but we get so freaked out about it. I have been asked for a long time in doing this work. The question comes up often, all right? I've been asked, is our behavior due to nature, right? Our personality, or is it due to nurturing, how we were brought up? Or is it both? And it absolutely is both. And sometimes it's neither. So sometimes it's neither. Sometimes it's past generations. It's generation after generation. It's 50 generations of cellular, emotional, and energetic DNA that gets passed down to you. Now, if you believe in past lives, same thing. It's generation after generation coming down, and lifetime after lifetime, and something just needs to get completed and fulfilled. So if you understand that, we have to understand that we've got to work through these two things. Now, your nature is your nature blueprint, it's your personality. Okay, so the nature blueprint is your personality. The Zodiac is the easiest way to learn about your nature. This is where, guys, Google can be your best friend. And then your nurture blueprint, nurturing, is your childhood influences. Okay, so the iPod, as I call it, if you're young enough to remember, actually, I learned this from Tony Robbins, and we learned it on cassette tapes and CDs, right? Remember back in the day when music was put on a CD and a cassette tape? I'm aging myself. So basically we have, through nurturing, you get good and challenging traits that are programmed in childhood, and then subconsciously we play these traits out with others, like songs on a playlist put on repeat. It's like an iPod, right? You push repeat on a song and you can play it forever, ongoing. So what if the songs aren't good? Because mom and dad aren't perfect, just like I'm not perfect, you're not perfect, no one's perfect, but you're perfectly whole and complete just the way you are, right? And so if the songs are challenging, possibly that you got programmed in your nurturing, which I will share, this is just something we need to remember, those will be hotspots in nurturing. Now, this is a whole different class, learning your iPod traits and where those hotspots are, which is pretty cool. And I will share more with you later on learning those very easily. But tonight we're going to focus just on one. So when you think about this, we're all energy blueprints, right? And how do I explain this? Self-awareness is the key. So if we're all energy, like a big grid of a blueprint on a big ball, okay? And so kind of like the grid of a map and the meridian lines and the longitude and latitude on a globe, all right? So you're the world, and the lines are running all around you, just like the longitude, latitude lines. Now, if you imagine that grid of longitude, latitude lines, you're the world, here you are at the body of the shell, and then those longitude, latitude lines run around you, and they expand out into space, to maybe multiple dimensions of time and space. It doesn't matter, but there are all these different intersections on those longitude, latitude lines that run around us in the grid of energy, and they make us up. And those two blueprints of nature and nurture, they make up our blueprint of energy. That's how people interpret you, by the energy that you put out, and of these simplistic, these energy blueprints that we put out into the world. So tonight, all I'm going to do is introduce the nature blueprint, which is your personality. I am going to use the Zodiac blueprint because that's what I use. You can get a blueprint of your personality through Myers-Briggs and DISC, and there's so many, personality profiles out there that doesn't make one better than the other. It's just the one I use. And so tonight, when I look at a blueprint of an astrology chart of a person, that is their blueprint of their personality. Okay. And so we're going to cover 3 hot spots that show up in there. So we can go, okay, I want to see these 3 hot spots that can make or break your kids as well as you. They apply to everyone. So yes, I'm teaching you from the aspect of kids tonight. So we have kind of like what I did. What do I do to help my children expand and grow and become more expansive in who they are? That's how I looked. Now I looked at mine as well, and I can see where I can self-sabotage. So these 3 hot spots, they can create self-sabotage if you don't know what they are. And so it's crucial that tonight you start shifting your thinking, that instead of why is this happening to me? I get this a lot in my coaching. Why is this happening, Don? Why is this here? I want you to change that phrase to, what is this teaching me to grow? What is this symptom, this situation, this challenge teaching me to grow? Because we're all gifted in some area of life, right? That we focus. So we focus on that. We focus on what we're good at. Yet we have challenges in life that are going to cause us to self-sabotage if you don't know what to look for and where to give yourself healthy boundaries. All right. So what I've learned in doing healing work for so long is that we must all learn what our hot spots are in your nature and your nurturing to overcome the challenges. And so the gifts that you all possess are as natural as breathing. I don't need to warn you all on breathing. You just do it without effort. Okay? So the same thing applies to your talents. You just do them without effort. They're not difficult for you. So what I want you to learn is how to spot your kids' hotspots. So when they appear, you don't shy away, but you step up and you integrate the experience into their being. Okay? So if any of you are on this call, by the way, I forget to mention this, and you have your own personal astrology chart, I'm going to review one with you tonight that says celebrity. But if you have your own, feel free to pull it up and you can see maybe if you can spot them. Now, it is hard to read an astrology chart, so I'm not going to say it's going to be easy, but you feel free to pull it up. So what I would like to go right into right now is to show you a chart. All right. I want to look at a chart and show you how to spot or locate the hot spots. And I've chosen a celebrity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with all of you, and I'm going to share who I used, a celebrity that you all know. And the reason I chose this celebrity, I'm going to spread this out a little bit for you. Okay. This is Eminem. Okay. Let's see if I can move this a little bit. Okay. Sorry, guys. There we go. All right. So this is an Eminem. And if you look at this chart, now I'm sharing Eminem's chart because I wanted to share a celebrity with you. Why? Because y'all are old enough. A lot of us are old enough. If there's any younger kids on here, some people wanted to share this with their children. If there's younger people on here, they can relate to Eminem. And the older of us, he is my age, so the older generations know who he is as well. Do you listen to him? Does it matter? No, it doesn't matter at all. The reason I brought him up is because we all know he had a rough journey, a rough challenge in life, and he is not someone you would have expected in life to become a huge successful rapper, right? And so I wanted to show you how if someone saw this in their younger years, I would have said, this is someone that's going to do something with their life in this area. And they would have said, no way, he did it. Okay, so we're going to start with the 4 pieces. There are 4 pieces I want to show you in a chart. Okay, the first thing that all of you, if you didn't look at the chart I'm sharing, if you're looking at your own chart, remember these hotspots are not going to be in your same areas that his are. You might have a 1 here, you might have a 3 here, but this is a zodiac wheel. This is what a zodiac chart looks like. And this is always what it will always look like whenever you are looking at a chart for your own self. This is what you will see. Now, the cool part about this is that if you're looking at a chart, the first thing, if you didn't have a chart, you didn't get anything from tonight, I want you to leave with one tip. All you need to know is your personal sun sign. So if you know what day you were born, which you all do, and I have a cheat sheet for any of you later, I'll share it with you at the end of the call. If you don't know your actual birth, the birth date where it coincides with what sign you are, I have a cheat sheet to look at. But if you have this knowing, right, of who you are, what your birth sign is, I tell people, instead, I want you to look at your birth sign. Instead of Googling who am I, what am I about, look and see what the challenges are with that sign. What are the biggest challenges with that birth sign, right? With that birth date. I'm an Aquarius, right? So an Aquarius is the humanitarian, future thought, but most of all, usually our greatest gifts, their breathing, are also our greatest challenges, which means being the humanitarian, I overgive, I overdo. So if I'm avoiding that hotspot to saying, wow, I really need to watch myself in that area, you're going to miss it. So if you got nothing off this call tonight but that simple solution of Google where your weakest traits are in your sun sign, you will walk away with a gift of a hotspot in your chart. Okay, so that's not one of the 4 on his chart or every chart I look at, but that's one that you can meet someone and now Google their weaknesses or the challenges, and you'll know right away where they might struggle at times. They're going to breathe it. I breathe humanitarian. I breathe helping and healing. I want to bring all this wonderful knowledge to all of you and help you all feel great. But I also have to help myself not to override the system. Okay. So next piece we look at in a chart is number 1 right here. It's called your North Node. Now, if you were to get your own hotspot chart done, this is what it would look like, but down below it would be filled with all the information of your hotspot in North Node, all the hotspot direction and information and description of your moon, etc. So the first piece we look at is your North Node, okay? So wherever a person's North Node, it's this little horseshoe upside down, so little blue headphones, I should say. It's where we're going to find that our children are going to avoid pushing themselves, avoid living it out, because that's basically your karma or your life purpose. It's what you're here to facilitate, complete, and fulfill. And so, of course, growing things is difficult, but that part is necessary. It's basically like whatever you believe in. If you believe in God, divine, higher power, you made a deal before you came here and said, hey, see this? This is what you're going to complete. And you can do it at 90 or you can do it at 19. There's no right or wrong answer here, right? But what happens is if you can look at your North Node, wherever it sits in a chart, it's like the leaves of the tree and over here are the roots of the tree. And if you can imagine that, the story of the bamboo tree would be a good example of what the North Node means, okay? So the story of the bamboo tree is basically explaining to you, they plant the seed of the bamboo, they fill it with water, they give it attention, and first year, nothing. They keep watering it, nurturing it, nothing. Third year, nothing. Fourth year, nothing. Fifth year, that bamboo tree grows 50 to 60 feet in 1 year. That's the North Node. Continue to nourish and nurture this aspect of your life, and you will always feel like you're on your purpose and going where you need to go. So the point being is we want to focus on the North Node. That is purpose and life purpose. So when we look at the next piece, look at the moon. This is the moon sign. Huge piece in looking at our insecurities and our emotions. So if you want to know where your children are highly emotional, it's where we have the highest highs and the lowest lows. Why? Because this is where you understand where they're more emotional. And so if you look at the North Node over here with Eminem, it's in the second house of earned income and values and creating his career through teaching value and self-worth and income and money and career. He built his career on teaching values. He's writing about values. He's singing about values. He sings about changing his life, all about putting security and foundation for people. Then we go to his moon sign, number 2 hotspot, where we understand emotions, how we perceive, how we feel about things. We've got a moon sign in Aquarius in the house of communication. So number 2, his moons, he feels amazing. He feels high when he's sharing words and knowledge with people. And he's teaching the masses, Aquarius rules the masses, how to feel secure, how to feel their worth. Fascinating, isn't it? That's what he does. Then we go to number 3 hotspot. This is a very simple, fast way to learn this, guys. Number 3 is Saturn. This little, so if you're looking for the symbols, here they are. It's always, whether it's in color, mine are in color. Here's a little brown H, or there it's a little black H. It doesn't matter what sign or which symbol you use. Oops, sorry about that. There we go. So this H, represents Saturn, and Saturn is defiance, necessary wisdom. Saturn is the planet of hard knocks. So it's where you have the hardest lessons, but the greatest gifts, right? So it marks where there are boulders and restriction in your life. Yet if you continue to imagine that that boulder sits on your blueprint in one of your intersections, and it says, hey, just so you know, you're going to either have to climb over me, dig a tunnel under me, climb around me, but you're going to have to learn this lesson. And once you do, I'm the gift that just keeps giving. So Saturn is kind of like the policeman that brings you the subpoena from court, right? Don't get upset with the messenger. He's just saying, I'm bringing you what you have to learn. This is a court order. It's important. Once you learn it, then it gives you all the gifts of security and foundation and structure from that. Well, here is Eminem, and he is Saturn in Gemini, which again is the planet sign of communication, speaking, teaching, learning, and it's in his partnership. So he probably had struggles, and we do know he had struggles in partnerships growing up and relationships growing up and speaking his truth to other people. He probably had a hard time trusting other people and learning with other people. This is where my daughter, who she doesn't like to ask for help, he probably did too and felt he had to do it all on his own. So what happens is Saturn basically is delivering a package for your hard drive, and it's saying, please download all this difficulty and challenges to understand I'm going to bring you the gifts. Okay, so where Saturn sits in your chart, that's going to bring boulders that you have to climb. Very important. And then the 4th piece, I'm not going to go over a lot, but this is Chiron. Oops, sorry about that. It keeps spitting up. Chiron in his chart is in the house of home, family, mom, security. So it was in Aries for him. And I'll let you all find out that later if you want to do your own charts. But the point being is, for him, he had struggles growing up. He had challenges at home. There wasn't a lot of foundation and security. He didn't have a lot of self-esteem. So he came in and emotionally learned to teach others. He made money doing it, and he was not expected to step into the truth with partnerships and be who he was going to be. But his soul knew if he followed these 4 areas where he was wounded, he was here to teach others how to have self-esteem. He was here to teach his words to the rest of the world. He was here to learn how to trust people. And what's so cool is now when we look at him, we're starting to learn, right? So how cool is that, you guys? How cool is that chart, right? So that was the bonus. Yes, I gave you a little bonus on Chiron. That's the 4 hot spots I look at in every chart. But how cool is that when you can look at him and go, wow, he was challenged in those areas, but he overcame them because he had no choice but to use his talents. And when he did, it wasn't about this small little white man who wasn't supposed to be rapping. He just spoke his truth, which was to teach his words and value and security to others to make money. He did it. And that's what all of your hotspots hold as well. So when you look at all of this, there's also a hot cheat, one of those sample cheat sheets, not M&Ms, but a blank one with just a general chart in it that you all can download later if you want. But when I looked at my kids in this area, and I looked at their hotspots, and I saw how much easier and more compassionate I was when they had meltdowns and resistance and defiance was appearing, I saw their trust and peace kind of starting to bloom in them. Like, okay, trust my mom to know it's okay for me to feel what I'm feeling, be where I'm at, do what I'm doing. So I didn't avoid their challenges anymore. I embraced it. And so while my little artist was failing math, guys, I didn't make it a thing for her anymore, that she wasn't smart enough. I encouraged her to do her best, and I redirected her focus on her joy and creative expression, because that's who she was. And when she acted like a butterfly and didn't stick to things very long, I knew she was on her path of an artist. And I did not discourage her from becoming who she was because I understood her. Now she's at art school. Shocking. So if I didn't understand these hotspots, I also wouldn't have known to back off when my little one, who avoided groups, remember, said, no more soccer, Mom, I hate it. No more karate, Mom, I hate it. And I said, okay, because it was there in her blueprint. And so what do we do with these hotspots, Dawn, right? Now I shared all these with you, is very basic. Explain what happened, how we get there. In the last 10 years, I have taught hundreds of clients about their hotspots, right? And many of them become very successful by using these tools. So I have one question for all of you. If you wanted to create one thing, or anything I should say, in your future, in the next year, in the next 1 year, if you want to create, what is it that you'd like to create for yourself personally, professionally, financially, or as a parent? Because avoiding these hotspots is like being dehydrated. It's like needing an infusion to feel better, right? Similar to an IV of vitamins, yet these are like hotspot vitamins, right? Avoid them, and then you create self-sabotage. So what is it costing you not to take action? What if you could get help in all of the topics that I listed above, and more? What if you could be successful like all of my clients that have worked with me one-on-one? And my answer is you all can. And so I wanted to share with you guys, just at the end of this call quick, I want to share with you what you can do, all of this, with my I Deserve It Academy. I created this digital tool to give you greater self-awareness on your nature and your nurturing hotspots. It's a 6-step digital system that I have changed hundreds of lives, literally, digitally and in person. On a daily basis, I use this. It helps you understand your nature and your nurture hotspots. Again, tonight we went over your nature hotspots, but it also brings up how to locate your nurturing hotspots. It will help you see your personal blueprint on what's challenging for you, so you're not projecting onto others anymore. It includes your personal hotspot Zodiac chart. So how you just saw Eminem's chart, you will see down below all of the personal description of your hotspots and what they mean. It's all online, so you can even listen with your kids and learn with them. And this price is on my website. It's normally $1,800, but if you sign up tonight, you're going to get a $300 discount. It's your personal Zodiac hotspot chart will get delivered to you in an email privately. You'll become a member of the Truth Tribe, so you'll be on my live monthly calls. You'll have access to my website and all the tools, as well as my IDI mobile app to support you as a parent. You also get to basically all 3 of my books for free. So you'll get those for free downloaded. You get a discounted ticket to my Karma Completion Retreat happening in January. You do not want to miss that. And tonight only, you're going to get this for $14.97. So I'm going to post in the link below in your chat. I'm going to post you the link so that you guys can all register tonight if you want this. Again, you will receive an email to access as well following this. So any questions now from this point forward, I'm going to open up a Q&A and I'm going to unmute you. If you guys want to ask a few questions on some of this, I'm completely open, and you guys, you get me for whatever you're looking for regarding these hotspots or this event or the I Deserve It Academy and how it can help you. So let me type in real quick the event here, guys. So here is the link if you want to participate. It is, I just listed it up for you. You can all see it. It's available to everybody. And the link is there. So just click on it, open it up. It'll take you direct there to automatic payment. The other thing I want to open up to is I'm going to unmute you all. And we're going to open up to questions. So if anybody has any questions, I'm going to throw it out at you. So let's see if we can get you all unmuted here. So any questions that I can open up, guys, right now? I'm going to open up the Q&A, and you can go ahead and throw your questions in. You have me. So use the time that you have me here. If you are on this call, I know you guys can hear me. The question is I can't hear you. So I have unmuted you all. And if not, then I want you guys to go ahead and throw me in. All right. Diana. Diana has a question. So Diana is popping in here and wants to ask a question. I also have two questions. So until Diana's question pops in for me, feel free to throw it in the chat, Diana, and I will respond. Okay. So I'm going to give you the next question that's coming up here. Besides, I see Diana's trying to ask a question, and I am in, Diana, whatever I can answer. So one of the questions that came in is, why are they called hotspots? And let's see. Why do you call them hotspots? The answer is because it's where we get fired up, right? So we get fired up easily in these areas of our life, and so if we aren't aware, we can get out of control in that area. And so the answer is knowledge is power. And if you can look at it from that perspective, it's going to change the way you see things. Second question that just came in. Do these affect everyone, or is this just for kids? Yes, everyone. Everyone has a nature blueprint, and we all have hot spots. So learning your kids just makes a happier home, right? But if you learn your own, it helps you not to expect that your blueprint is going to work for your kids. And that's a huge piece. So what I want you guys to remember here is it's important for everyone to understand that if you can know your own hot spots, it will change the game, which is why I'm offering this I Deserve It Academy. Most of this work I do with everybody is one-on-one. I just can't do that as much anymore, which is why I recorded the I Deserve It Academy for everybody. Because you don't need to, it's not a lot of work. We can do this together. And so what's really cool is when we're doing that, it changes the game. Okay, here's the question that came in. Diane says, it's a Pisces mom and a Pisces daughter, and there's turbulence. So this is a really good question, because what happens is we're now going to say, well, they're like me and they should be this way. And my point is, if you just, saw what we just experienced, your North Node, your Moon, your Saturn, and your Chiron are all going to be in different places. So one Pisces is not going to be the same as another Pisces. And that's huge, because one Leo is not going to be the same as another Leo. So these two Pisces are going to have kind of like, almost like two rams, like two Aries, banging on their horns and saying, I want it my way, I want it my way. But at the end of the day, if you can understand why she wants to have it her way, it'll be a lot easier. So two Pisces coming together isn't the challenge. It's respecting what that Pisces needs to heal and overcome and what their challenges are. I have if you both didn't notice through sharing my kids, I have like night and day kids, like completely different. And one's in social and one's, a little bit more lack and more private. And so if you can look at this Pisces experience, she's got a good point here. Is it just the sign? No, it's not just that sign. And that's why I have taught these hotspots, is because if you know these 4 areas, they will show you where you are challenged. And Pisces is difficult enough as it is, because they're so emotional and they're so sensitive and they're so overgiving. My own daughter has a Pisces moon. That's the piece I was saying about self-sacrificing. So we overgive and help everybody else, and then we realize we're being, we're not taking care of ourselves. And we're not fulfilling our needs. Pisces can get a little bit, lost in that area, and then they're upset with other people. They're also a little bit critical. So now if these two are critiquing each other, they're having a hard time. So one of the challenges that we have to look at is we have to decide, are we going to look at them as a Pisces, as I could have looked at both of my children as their signs and said, oh, well, that's just how they are. And I realized that had nothing to do with it, because my oldest, she was not acting like her sign. She was acting like her moon and her Saturn. That's where she was avoiding things. That's where she was challenged. And so my other child was acting more like her moon and her Saturn. And so her driving Aries personality, that's not the one that was getting her in trouble and restriction. It was the other two. So if we don't look at these areas of these hotspots, it has nothing to do with your sun, moon, rising. So I'm getting this from the chat here, guys, is they're like, okay, well, this is my sun, moon, rising. Well, we can look at the whole chart and go, wow, that's me. Knowing who you are, those are your gifts. That's what you're good at. But having a Cancer moon is super sensitive. They want mom to just nurture the crap out of them. And a Sag moon wants to have all the knowledge and the boss, and they have wisdom and beliefs, and this is the rules of how things are done. And the Cancer moon's going, I don't understand. Why can't we just hug and make up? So they're fighting, fire and water. What do fire and water do? Together sometimes they make steam, right? It's really great. But what does most of the time, once the steam runs out, the water puts out the fire and we have challenges. So this is a good example. Just because these two people are Pisces doesn't mean the other signs are going to get along. So we have to respect what that sign is. All signs are awesome. There's not one that is better or worse. It's just the way the setup is. So I'm going to encourage all of you, if you have not signed up for the I Deserve It Academy, it is worth it. You will not miss out. You will literally design your life of your hotspots and go, I know who I am now, and I know how to break down the patterns so I don't have to get restricted and self-sabotage anymore. You can override the system with this. Your choice. I tell people it's work. And if you want to grow, you'll do the work. If you don't want to grow, you'll avoid it and you'll keep saying, what's wrong with me? Up to you. Totally your choice. Find me. I want you to just go to the website, hotspots, hotspots.ideserveitnow.com. So if you're not on the actual live webinar where you can pop on the link, put it up in your URL address, hotspots.ideserveitnow.com. And if you can't find that, email me direct. I will send you the link. If you really are ready to change, grow and empower yourself, I'm in. I'm thanking everybody so much for joining me tonight. It was a pleasure. It was a blessing. I wish you all a blessed night. Have a wonderful night, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.